I heard it recently that, going back to your why, going back to like the reason you started can really be like that first seed and in planting, thinking about your personal brand and going back to like the true reason why you started. Is it an
Mhm.
issue you had? And so sharing more about that or building on the reasons why you got started in the first place.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so happy you're here with me today. We have an incredible guest, Whitney Hoefer. Welcome back to the podcast. How are you
Thank
doing?
I'm so good. So glad to be back. Thank you for having
Yay.
me. You're always so gracious.
Oh, I love connecting with you. I think we have so much in common in the way that we approach business and systems and all the things. Whitney is an online business manager working pretty much exclusively with network marketing leaders, direct sellers, and really allows those leaders to experience the freedom that this industry provides by taking some of that day-to-day management and systems and operations off their plate so they can get into, really doing what they love, which is leading their team. So, Whitney, you are just such a gem in the industry. I know you're working with some of our Academy members, and I think we're going to have a great conversation today, just really around systems and how systems can literally save you. So, really excited for today. If somebody didn't catch our last episode or when you came into the Academy and did our guest masterclass, why don't you just kick things off and share a little bit of your story? How did you get into serving the network marketing industry?
Yeah, so I get that question a lot because people often think like, "Oh, were you in the industry? Did you
Yeah.
represent a certain company, a brand?" And no, I didn't. It was kind of a roundabout way that I got into it. In fact, I started my business as kind of a general virtual assistant in
Okay.
2019. And as a lot of virtual assistants do, kind of you want to get your feet wet and kind of serve all the people. And as you probably well know, when you are serving everyone, you're serving no one.
Yeah.
But in 2020, I was approached by a leader in the industry. She just out of the blue approached me, I think through a random Facebook group, and was like, "I'm growing. I need help. I'm drowning in all the things. Like, would you ever consider working with a direct sales leader?" And I was like, heck yes, like, of course. And
Yeah.
everything that she was needing aligned with the services that I was offering. So I really just jumped in with her. And I would say, just right from the beginning, it opened my eyes really to this world of like, oh my gosh, there's so much opportunity and so many
Yeah.
areas of the business that need attention. And that's something I've always recognized is that in this industry, like, that's part of its uniqueness. You've got so many different audiences that you're managing, your prospects, your customers, your team, and
Yeah.
everybody needs you and needs your attention to some degree. And so about 8 months in working with her, I started working with a coach and she was like, "Whitney, you gotta narrow your focus in. You can't be serving everybody. So like let's pick a lane." And
Yeah.
I want to work with more people like my client. I love her. I want like this I see as a huge opportunity. And so really from there is when I kind of went all in. I was like, let's just go for it. And then like by
Mhm.
the end of 2020, that's really when things started taking off. I was reaching out to different leaders and pitching my services, and the reception was very, very well received and
Yeah.
just kind of snowballed from there. Started getting traction and, moved from this virtual assistant sort of reactive mode, like being handed tasks, to really this partnership role where I am
Mhm.
now as an online business manager and really taking that proactive place in my clients' businesses of having the strategies, having the plans, making sure things align with the overarching goals. And so this has really like been my sweet spot for the last, 4 to 5 years, and it's been wonderful. So
I love that. I love it. And I love what you said just around kind of that difference between maybe a virtual assistant and an online business manager, because the role that you're playing is definitely an elevated role definitely more proactive, more hands-on, more strategic. And I love that you use the word partnership, right? Like you're working with that leader as a thinking partner to talk about like what do we have going on? Like take, hey, I've seen this work over here. Let's see how we can make that work for you. It's less so, like you said, assigning tasks or handing things off to a virtual assistant. So if anyone is listening and they're like, online business manager, virtual assistant, like what are those roles and how do they differ? I love how you kind of explained how you're working with your clients to
Yeah.
really support them. And I know one of the big areas that you are so good at is systems. You're a girl after my own heart. I love systems over here. And I think you and I use a lot of the same systems too. So, as you're thinking about direct sellers, what are maybe four systems? I know we talked about this ahead of time. So, four
Mhm.
systems that you feel like every direct seller needs once they're all in on their business, I would say, right? Because I think when you're first stepping into direct sales, you can kind of dabble here and lean into your company systems. But once you're like, okay, this is for me, I'm actually building a business, I actually have an income, this is no longer a hobby, I am serious about this. What are some of those systems that you think are really important for direct sellers?
Yeah. So I remember covering this topic of like the must-have systems when I taught the master class and when
Yeah.
last time I was on the podcast. So I still stand by all of those systems and still think they are valuable and crucial for everyone. But I think that has the list has expanded since then,
Okay.
as the landscape has changed and things have evolved. So definitely think that having some sort of customer database management system, some
Hmm.
way to protect your network, if you will, that is a separate from your company's back office. So really kind of safeguarding your contacts, like your people that you
Yeah.
work so hard to acquire and
Mhm.
bring into your world and who buy from you. So really having a way to safeguard those people and keeping a secure, database of all your customer info. And that doesn't have to be as fancy as maybe it sounds. I use my own customer management tool. And so, it could be simple as having a spreadsheet in your Google Drive. It could be
Yeah.
having an email marketing platform. That's something I harp on all the time is the
Yeah.
importance of email marketing and having a list, owning that list so you have the ability to communicate with your customers. And so, yes, definitely think that that is huge to have your own sort of database of your customers separate from your company's back office. Um,
Absolutely. And that's one thing like we both know that in the last couple of months, as direct sales has changed, maybe some companies have done some restructuring or even closing, that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like I need my contacts.
yeah.
And you don't want to be locked out of your system, right? Like you said, you've worked hard for those contacts. So keeping them somewhere. I don't even care. Put them on a piece of paper in a notebook if you have to. But a Google Sheet, that works
Somewhere.
really well
Yep.
too. There's lots of apps that can track things. So, yes. Okay. So, love that. Number one, customer database management, some kind of customer database just to protect those contacts that you've worked hard to build.
For sure. So the second one, I think you might not necessarily think of this as a system, but I do think it's very necessary. And that's the idea of building on your personal brand. And I don't think that's anything new to your audience or anyone here. We hear about that all the time, like building your personal brand. But I think it is so important, especially with changing landscapes and
Yeah.
everything in this industry and other industries. And so creating, a separate identity from your company
Hmm.
just really is so smart and just very, very necessary to do. And also gives you the chance to really work on those like transferable skills that
Yeah.
give you that flexibility to branch into other things when the
Hmm.
opportunities arise or if the needs ever arise. Like, I think any chance that you get to really work on honing certain skills and building your own brand, I think is just a very smart move. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes people can think like, well, where do I even start? Like, what's my brand? And
Yeah.
I heard it recently that, going back to your why, going back to like the reason you started can really be like that first seed and in planting, thinking about your personal brand and going back to like the true reason why you started. Is it an
Hmm.
issue you had? And so sharing more about that or building on the reasons why you got started in the first place. So I think that's
Hmm. Well, and I think when you're thinking about personal brand, like that's how you want people to remember you. Like, yeah, they want to remember the products that you're selling, but if they're only remembering the products, they're just gonna go to your company website and buy the products, right? Like people shop with you because they love you. So having that personal brand where they can easily remember, oh, Becky, she's the one that does this and has that, right? Like you want them to think of you first and that can lead them to the products that they're looking for. And I think that's why so many have seen good success in transitioning from one company to another because their people will follow them because they've built that like irresistible customer base that loves their personal brand and would buy anything from them because they enjoy supporting them and shopping with them and hearing their story and all of that. So let me ask you this, just a quick follow-up question on personal brand from a systems perspective. What are some of those systems or things, maybe not systems, but components of having a personal brand that like you might work with a client on developing?
So I think that really a lot of that boils down to having a system for your social media. I mean, that's where you're the majority
Yeah.
of the time you're showcasing your personal brand. So being able to build on your personal brand requires consistency.
Yeah.
It requires strategy, not just throwing spaghetti at the wall. So
Yeah.
I think that that really comes down to having, a simple system for your social media and sharing and staying consistent there. So
I love it. Love it. Okay, perfect. Number three, third system that is a must have.
yeah, I think this one would have to be having some sort of customer communication. So this comes back to kind of the database management, but also having a way to communicate with your customers outside of the back office. So this is
Yeah.
really where I see email coming into place. And I will always harp on like the importance of building your list and like
Mhm.
the best time to start building your list was 5 years ago, and then next time is today. So, like, start
Yeah.
building your list today, create like some simple lead magnet that people would want, and start promoting that and getting people on the list because the last thing you want is just having no way to communicate with these people that you've built relationships with and who bought from you and who want to hear from you. So, definitely having something, having a professional email or communication system separate from your company.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing I'm hearing is separate from social media as well.
Hmm.
So, yeah, you're building this personal brand on social media, which is fantastic and important. We know social media is a free place for us to go and play and connect and sell our products and all the things. But having a way to reach out to people outside of social media, outside of your company's back office, is just another really smart move.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
And I love you mentioned lead magnet. I know some people have created a lead magnet before and are super familiar with that. But just for those that might be more at the beginning stages, talk a little bit about what that looks like in developing a lead magnet and why you might want to have that to gather those email addresses.
Yeah, I love creating lead magnets for myself, for clients.
Yeah.
So that is something that will help you build your list. So think of any time you have clicked on, let's say, like a downloadable resource. You visit a website and it's like, download my checklist of 100 things you need to do,
Yeah.
100, whatever, 100 things
The
you need to do.
billion amazing things that will
Yeah,
make you a better person, right?
exactly. Exactly. You're like, I want
I
that.
need
So
that.
I need that in my life, right? So you enter your email and it immediately gets sent to your inbox and you download the piece. So that's the nature of lead magnet. But lead magnets can be literally anything. I've seen master classes, I've done video recordings of like the sky's the limit when it comes to lead magnets. But think of
Yeah.
something, I've helped numerous clients with them. And when they're wanting to create something like a lead magnet that's brand new, and they're like, I just don't know what to create. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
it really needs to stem from your personal brand and not
Yeah.
something that's focused on selling. Like, yes, the idea is to get people on your list, but also there needs to be an end goal at the
Yeah.
same time. So whether that is selling a product, it could be something as simple as like the 3 steps to your best skin or something like that, something that
Yeah.
somebody would find value in. And they get those. And then ideally, that lead magnet, not only is it delivered to your recipient's inbox, but then it's attached to what's called like a nurture sequence. So they get a series
Mhm.
of emails after they download it, and each one kind of gives a little tidbit of value. And then the
Mhm.
last email would have some sort of selling point there. So whatever your offer would be. So that's
I
kind of
love that. I love that. And I love that you mentioned that, the tie-in between the lead magnet and the product. Like there has to be a connection because I've also seen lead magnets that are like totally, out of left field. And it's really hard to bring that back into, okay, now I have a great offer for you to make a purchase. But I've seen some really cool ones lately. A lot of our direct sellers that are using Oh My High have been doing quizzes. That's been really fun.
Mhm.
Seeing like skincare quizzes that or wellness quizzes, those come to life. That's been really fun. The other one that I've seen super successful lately too is a sample request. Like, how high value is that? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
I would love a free sample. I'm all about free samples. I'm going to
yeah,
fill out this form for a free sample. And then it's such an easy excuse to be like, did you get your sample? Did you love it? Can I help you get more ordered? Right. Like that's a really, really close tie-in. So it could be as simple as that, or even a catalog request. It
yeah.
doesn't have to always be, a 40-page ebook, unless you want to go create a 40-page ebook.
Right, right. Not many people do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't even want to read that. Like, I just give me what I want. I need it
Yeah,
real quick.
exactly.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, so a customer communication system, and your favorite would probably be email marketing as kind of the go-to in that category.
Yes, I would say that. I've been helping a lot of clients with email marketing, and it excites me because I think so many people are seeing the value, and more people
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, I need to get on this train." So, yeah, it's exciting.
Absolutely. You're on my email list. You know that I like to send some emails out.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, even just today, and we're obviously pre-recording this, but we sent an email this morning that was a high value email with a very short PS about something we have coming up in a couple of weeks. And we got multiple orders this morning from that one email that went out because something struck a chord in that email. It led with value. It had a tiny little mention of an offer. They went down the rabbit hole, landed on our website, saw all the things, and now we're jumping into the academy.
Yeah,
So, power of email marketing in action right there. Feels good when you can send an email, get that revenue right away.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, what is
Okay.
the fourth system that's going to save us?
I would say documentation is key. So, having things like a library or a vault for any sort of valuable training systems that you
Mhm.
have, anything of value that you use daily or consecutively in your business that you
Yeah.
would be lost without, processes that you use. So, I talk a lot about like SOPs, standard operating
Mhm.
procedures, outlining tasks that you're doing or your VA is doing on a consistent basis that is repetitive. Having those documented, I mean, it can safeguard against so many things. And having some sort of like digital resource library is just another smart business move. It's just,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that one for a quick minute because I know you're talking a little bit around like SOPs and documentation for maybe a leader to have about how they're running and operating their own business. But also in network marketing, right? Leaders are training their team and they're onboarding. And I mean, really, yes, everyone's different. But when you're onboarding someone, you're kind of going through the same process over and over again. Or somebody's working to push to promote to leadership, probably the same process. Or if once a year you put together a group that's working towards an incentive trip, like probably the same kinds of things you're doing on the regular. So, this is a question that came up in one of our masterminds this week. But is there a place that you like to hold this kind of documentation? Because there's so many options out there. We were like, do you do a Google Drive? Do you do boards? Do you do Dropbox? Do you do a web page that's password protected? Are there things that you're seeing that leaders are doing about where they're holding these documents to make them available to their team, to share with their team that's really effective right now?
I think the most frequent I see is honestly just in a Google Drive, like a
Okay.
private Google Drive folder in a Google Doc.
Yeah.
Also in both too, if it's something that you want to share with teams or other
Mhm.
stakeholders, share it, and they have access to a board, yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And it's
Okay. That's
yeah,
super helpful. Yeah, because I kind of said the same thing. I'm like, we live and breathe Google Drive over here. Like, that's
me
where we
too.
keep things, we share
Uh-huh.
things. My Google Docs, I share with my clients, and I have all my notes in it. So everything's all there and easily accessible. But I think once your team starts to grow, if you've never had to manage a lot of files and information in one place, that can feel really daunting. Like, do I put this in a Facebook group? Well, not everyone's on Facebook. Do I put it, over in this app that not everyone has? Like, I think it gets a little tricky
It
sometimes.
does. It
Yeah.
does for sure. But
Okay,
yeah.
Google Drive. Love
Yeah.
that. Love that. Okay, Whitney. So I love that. So, four systems. We talked about customer database management, personal brand, customer communication system, and then some kind of documentation or training system. So tell me, a little bit, and we don't have to go too far down this rabbit hole because we could spend a lot of time here if we wanted, but so many direct sellers, especially when they're getting started, are really building their business within their company's ecosystem, right? Like they're building it within the tools that are provided from their company, which is fantastic. Thank you, companies, for giving us great tools. But on the flip side, why do you feel like that's potentially kind of a dangerous move over the long haul?
Yeah, I think a couple of reasons. First of which I would say it kind of sets you up more to be more vulnerable in, as we've talked about, like the changes that have happened in the landscape and just makes you more susceptible to just being affected by those changes in a bigger way if you're not
Yeah.
building other assets outside of your company's ecosystem, the personal brand that we talked about, the email systems and all that. I think it kind of makes you a little bit more vulnerable in that regard. I also think that, as I touched on, I think skill development, you're a little bit more limited in developing those valuable skills, like
Yeah.
when you're working on your personal brand, you can really hone in on certain skills. And I think that just, again, it sets you up for those transferable abilities that you can have potentially if the
Mhm.
opportunities arise. And you're also creating dependency on the reputation of your company. If you're
Yeah.
always relying on your company's reputation and what it's doing and always making sure that you want to be in good standing, you're really setting yourself up to be completely dependent on everything they're
Yeah.
doing. And that can be
Yeah. Well, and in so many ways, in this industry, unlike many others, we are really dependent on them creating the products, them giving us the marketing materials, them having a functioning e-commerce website that's working for us, right? So I love that the four systems that we just talked about are things that are within your control, right? Like you can't control the shipping department. You can't control the website makeover that didn't quite go as planned. You can't control some of these other things, product delays or your favorite new product being discontinued. But there are some things that really are within your control. And if you take ownership of that, I think exactly what you said, you're able to take that and if you needed to at some point, continue building that brand elsewhere without having that risk that everything just kind of poof is
Yeah.
gone, which we've seen happen to some. Do you have any clients that you've been working with or that are in your world that you've seen create some really strong systems where really this is kind of case in point? It's helped them get through some significant changes because they've safeguarded themselves with systems like this?
Yeah. So one of my current clients, actually, who I'm still working with, she hired me on last year, about a year ago.
Yes.
So she was somebody who built a really successful business within her company. She got to the top. She was a really strong leader. And a lot of her network marketing business was very much like systemized and automated. It was she had built it to a point where she was very hands off. And
Mhm.
so because of this, she brought me on.
Yeah.
Actually, like she did this on her own. And so she kind of brought me on when things were already running really well. And she was like, I really want to focus more on a coaching aspect of my business. I really want to
Mhm.
build this other arm of my business and get some things established. So she had her coaching business getting started, she had a Patreon built, she had email marketing established, and so
Yeah.
when her company changed their structure in the fall of last year, it was really like, of course, some shock and all of that and some panic, but it was a chance that she saw as like, well, I've already got 6 months of established coaching under my belt. And so this just makes sense to really like go all in on this
Mhm.
and really focus my time and attention more towards this mentoring and creating these coaching groups that she's been doing. And so she really safeguarded herself in that way that she wasn't
Yeah,
starting from ground zero and had already kind of developed this system, and she had her customer communication established and safeguarded a lot of those things. So it
that's
worked really,
awesome.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
phew.
I know.
That's one good story that we
Yeah.
can channel
I
from this. I
know.
love
I
it. I
know.
love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Smart on
Well, let's
her.
talk about the kind of, maybe the newer direct seller, or maybe they're not even new. Maybe they've been doing this for a while and it has come to their attention, maybe more so than not over the last few months, that they do need some systems in their business. And they know that that's important, but it's never been something they've prioritized or spent a lot of time on. Because I think for most people, quite frankly, it just feels really daunting. So if they are listening in right now thinking, all right, like this might be the sign that I need to set up some systems, where do you recommend they start?
Yeah, it can feel very daunting because I think often everything can feel like a priority. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like every part of my business is important, of course. But I think it really does have to come back down to prioritization. And especially
Mhm.
if you're looking at that, looking at the areas of your business where there's some major cracks and where it's affecting your bottom line. So a lot of times I hear, like, even just something as simple as like customer follow-ups that people
Yeah.
just drop the ball on because they're like, I don't know, I get overwhelmed and I haven't followed up
Yeah.
with this person in 6 months and I don't know how to keep track. And that affects your bottom line. Like it's
Yeah.
something that affects your sales and everything. And so something like that, figuring out really where the major holes lie and the
Hmm.
prioritization of things can really help you kind of start to put the pieces together of where you can start to implement some simple is key
Yeah.
systems to help get things on track.
I love that. Yeah. Let's focus on where the money is on the table or lack
Uh-huh.
thereof. No. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, I joke that I don't think anyone is like, I'm so good at follow up or I'm so good at that. It's everyone's like, oh, I know I could be a little bit better in that department. But
Yep.
I think that that's a great place to begin because you're going to see some near immediate results from that. And
Mhm.
sometimes I think when we think about systems, it's like this huge project, it's not like doing the dishes every day in the kitchen, which you just have to do to kind of keep afloat. But it's like, I got to reorganize every cabinet in the kitchen. And this feels like such a huge project. I can't do it until 3 Saturdays from now. And then, oh, I'm not really in the mood. I think I'm going to wait another month to do it, right? It kind of just gets pushed to the back burner. So I love, yeah, starting small, keeping it simple, focusing on some of those things that you're going to see some good return pretty quickly on. I love that advice. So good,
Yeah.
Whitney. So good.
Thank
Okay, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear just from your perspective, because I know you are super organized. I said Whitney is like the best podcast guest I've ever had. She already like sent me an outline and gave me questions to ask her because she knew what she was going to do. So you're totally on top of it in so many ways in your own business and then also your clients' businesses. What do you do personally to stay organized and to keep your business running smoothly?
Well, thank you for the compliment. I'm like, I don't know how to be unorganized because I'm an Enneagram 1. I'm very type A. So it's just
Yeah,
like I
the
don't know
second
how to
nature.
function otherwise.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, I use a few different things. Like I said, I have my own customer relationship management system. I use HoneyBook that is like my vault for everything. It's where
yeah,
I do proposals and all my client contracts and scopes live in there, my invoicing, my calendar, like everything. That's kind of like my ecosystem, my central hub for everything.
yeah.
So that definitely helps. I use Flowdesk for my email marketing. So that's really a
Mhm.
key system in my business. I have my own virtual assistant, and we use a ClickUp as our
Yes.
project management platform for all of
Team
our
ClickUp.
projects. Yes, love it. So we can both stay on the same page, and I know where projects stand, and that is really crucial. And I'm also a paper calendar gal. I live and die
Okay.
with that. So I'm like always have an ongoing written list. I don't think I
Yeah,
could function without that. So
yeah.
checking things off the list. But I think when it comes to my clients, a lot of people are like, how do you manage so many different clients at all the same
Yeah.
time. And it really comes back to what I said in the very beginning of having that proactive partnership with my clients. And, of course, certain things come up throughout the week and throughout the month that aren't necessarily like live and die by our scope of work, but for the most
Yeah.
part, we have an action plan and we know what we're doing
Mhm.
every week and every month, and it is consistently aligning with their goals. And so I think that's really important. I have a list for every day when I show up and sit at my desk. For the most
Yeah.
part, I know what I'm doing for my clients. And so that way I'm able to organize my day by the priorities per client. And so it really helps with, of course, just workload and just being able to show up proactively. And I think that's so important for
I love that.
being a
I love
business
that.
owner. Uh-huh.
Well, I feel like you just bring a sense of calmness to the conversation. Every time we talk, I'm like, Whitney's got this. She's got
Yeah.
this. She's got it under control. So good. Well, I probably asked you in our last episode, but you can tell me if it's changed. Favorite office supply?
I don't think it's changed. I think it's got to be my paper planner still.
Your planner. Okay, okay, perfect.
And my favorite day of the year is like going and buying a fresh new planner. It's like what I look forward to, right? So,
Uh-huh, uh-huh. I did not use a paper planner for a long time. I always had kind of a ongoing side checklist on my desk where I was
uh,
highlighting things when I got them done, but I went back to a paper planner this year. I still am using ClickUp and all
yeah,
of our other tools and systems, but just for my sanity, and I'm really loving it.
yeah.
I feel like
Oh,
I
there's something
missed it
about
a
writing.
little.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels good. And I like have my little planner. I take it with me places and it feels
Yep.
really good.
Yep. I'm both. I have the digital and I have the paper, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
nothing falls through the cracks.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Well, Whitney, I think you have a freebie for our listeners to go check out. So tell us about that and then where we can connect with you.
Yeah, so I do have a freebie. It is my free email marketing templates. So I created these to help those of you who maybe struggle with your email marketing, your
Yeah.
consistency. And so I wanted to create something that was really actionable. And so I created these 6 different templates that are customizable for both your team and your customers. So dual
Ooh.
audiences here. So they're really like, yeah, very customizable templates. So you can download those, get them straight to your inbox. You'll get the whole nurture sequence, like I mentioned.
Nice.
And yeah, I've had some really good feedback on them so far. So I think they're valuable. So
Yay. And where can we go to get that?
you can go to Instagram. My Instagram is at
Okay.
Whitney.Hoefer. Connect with me there. And then they're in the link in my bio.
Perfect. Sounds good. We'll link to it in the show notes too, so everyone can click on it easily and get over there. And is that the best place to connect with you? Instagram? Is that where you like to
Yeah,
hang out the most?
that's where I hang out. So find
Okay.
me there.
So good. Thank you so much, Whitney, for spending some time with us today, talking about those 4 systems that are literally going to save us in so many aspects of our business. This was such a fun conversation. And I love the work that you're doing in the industry and how you're showing up and supporting leaders. So thank you again so much
Thank you
for
so much.
being
So
here and
fun.
sharing all your wisdom with us. I so appreciate you.
Thanks, Becky. It was great to be here.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
This episode is sponsored by CintShare. CintShare is the #1 social media scheduler for direct sellers and loved by creators in any industry. It's truly your one-stop shop for all things social. Join hundreds of thousands of social sellers and entrepreneurs who turn to CintShare for free social media training and resources. Get started today with your free 30-day trial at moderndirectseller.com/CintShare.